What is up, guys? Rickakis here, and it's Saturday, so that means it's time for some more amazing fan-made exotics for Destiny. Now, this is the only series that lets you submit your exotic weapon, armor, or heck, even ghost shell idea, and have realistic concept art made for it. Now, that's because I've partnered with the artist Benjamin Radiman, who makes these amazingly realistic exotic concepts. His DeviantArt will be linked in the description down below. Now, in today's video, we're going to go over 5 featured exotics that all came from the comments section of last week's video. After that, we're going to talk about the proper way to submit your exotic idea and some tips for getting selected. And lastly, we're going to showcase all of the creations that have been made since last week. Now, remember, if you guys enjoy this series and want to see it continue, please remember to support it by simply rating and especially sharing this video. Additionally, we only take submissions from the newest fan-made exotic video. If there's a newer video than this one, an annotation will appear right now directing you to it. Now, with that being said, let's get started here with the Trizone Exodus exotic sniper rifle concept by JDog0023 Plays. Now, firstly, this weapon has Guerrilla Fighter as a passive perk. Additionally, its exotic perk is called Tripod. This weapon gains bonus stability, aim assist, armor, and recovery when crouched. However, you can't move while this perk is active. Now, I actually really like this idea because it is very thematic. As you can see, this weapon has a bipod, not a tripod. I think there's a little bit of a mess up there, but it does clearly have the bipod. It also has kind of the Modern Warfare 2 Red Tiger camo a little bit, so I'm enjoying that as well. But no, the idea of having a bipod with your sniper rifle and having kind of a thematic exotic perk that perfectly fits in and makes sense with the look of the gun, with the design of the gun, and with that bipod, like being able to crouch and essentially deploy your bipod. You get increased stability, you get massively increased aim assist, you get more recovery and more armor. These are all huge bonuses, but of course you can't move. You deploy your bipod and you are stationary, and then you're going to have to uncrouch, and perhaps even there's an animation of you, folding back up your bipod before you can continue on your way and go out and get kills and move around like normal. But again, I really like this idea. Firstly, it seems kind of effective, being able to crouch, get all of these bonuses, especially a bonus to armor, so you basically get more health, even if that isn't functional in PvP, because if you're a stationary target, you're very easy to shoot. I mean, the bonuses seem good, but again, we'll have to see. Maybe something like this could work in PvP, but in PvE, being able to crouch, get all of these massive bonuses, and lay some sniper rounds on a boss, that seems pretty good. And you're also going to have, of course, the increased armor to be able to soak in a few extra shots from the boss if he is shooting you as well. Moving on, we have a very interesting weapon here, the Mercy exotic hand cannon concept by Power Outage 93. Now, if you couldn't already tell by the name, this weapon is inspired by the Overwatch support characters and is really going to focus more on, helping your team rather than damage output. For example, the passive perk is Sedative, reduces damage over time, suppression, and poison effects for fireteam members when tagged with this weapon, and it does not stack. So if your teammate is shot by a thorn and they're getting that damage over time, you can shoot them and it will go away. If they're on fire from, an incendiary grenade or something like that, you shoot them and it will go away. Very, very useful ability. That is combined with the exotic perk ICU. For fireteam members tagged with the final round of the magazine of this weapon, it's going to grant them +1 recovery and +1 agility for 5 seconds and immediately start health regeneration. So you can essentially function kind of like a Mercy, or actually more similar to Ana in Overwatch. Walk around with this weapon and just support your teammates, shooting them to eliminate their, damage over time effects, and also just having that last round to be able to shoot them, immediately start their health regeneration, and give them a little bit more recovery and a little bit more agility so they can perhaps escape that situation as well. Really, really interesting idea. Of course, nothing even close to this is in Destiny really right now. At least I can't think of anything. So whether this would be effective, whether this would just be not very good. You do kill people in Destiny pretty fast, when compared to something like Overwatch. So having this, will it be effective enough to actually, be worth using? I don't know, again, because we've never seen anything like this. Very unique idea, and something that might be worth a try, because of course you can always just shoot enemies with this and it'll still do, normal damage, right? But you also have the ability to completely transform into a supportive character, essentially, in Destiny, be very team-oriented, and I definitely like this idea. Next, we have the ASVK Reforged Prototype 12 Exotic Sniper Rifle concept by Wumbo Stew. This weapon has two unique perks. The first is the passive perk Major Breaker, does more damage to majors and shielded enemies. The next perk is the exotic perk Lead Bullets, staggers enemies with a shot to the body, has a 30% chance to slow enemies upon a hit, and over penetrates shields. Now this weapon to me really seems like a more PvE focused sniper rifle. Over penetrating shields and all that stuff that really won't have too much of an effect in PvP because, snipers always kill in one shot to a normal enemy. And of course, if they're activating a super or whatever, the high damaging sniper rifles already kill in one shot to the head. So I don't see that becoming like a huge issue there. Now, of course, being able to stagger enemies and potentially slow them if you get a body shot, that is quite effective. But, having a follow-up body shot like most other sniper rifles, that's what most people deal with when they get shot in the body. You just get the quick double tap off. So again, it doesn't really seem like a super amazing effect for PvP. Definitely effective, could sure see some use in PvP, but again, its focus seems to be PvE, which is totally fine. More damage against majors. That's exactly what you want to damage with your sniper rifle in PvE. You're not interested really in shooting thralls with a sniper rifle. You're going after majors and shielded enemies. Shielded enemies are kind of like the kryptonite for snipers in PvE, and of course the reason being is because you can't get precision shots on shielded enemies. You have to take down their shields first. So being able to over penetrate those shields, take them down immediately upon the first shot, and potentially do enough damage to take them down and get a little bit of a precision shot in there, that would really, really help in PvE. And of course, slowing enemies, very effective when you're, fighting a boss that's potentially mobile, like Val's to Eric, or like some other boss like that, like Malik. Being able to slow him would be very effective. So again, very useful all-around sniper rifle with a PvE focused slant. Moving on, we actually have an armor piece, the ACD-0 Dragon Skin Exotic Chest Armor concept by Orion Hernandez. Now this doesn't actually say which class it's for, but I would assume Titan, since the other ACD-0 gauntlets are for the Titan. Now this armor piece is going to have the exotic perk Defense Matrix. Your super is replaced by body armor. That is the damage type of the subclass you are using at the moment, and deflects all non-precision damage for 5 seconds with a maximum of 150 damage taken. Your super recharges twice as fast, but switching to another exotic will reset your super cooldown, which is of course makes sense when you have anything that messes with your super. Now, I think the core concept behind this idea is a very good one, and that's why I'm going over this exotic, but I do think it might be a little underpowered, especially like for an exotic that's taking over your super. Now again, the idea at its core is very good, basically replacing your super, and you get this body armor effect. So when you press the bumpers now with this exotic, instead of activating your super, it's going to activate this, body armor. It's going to activate the defense matrix, which is going to give you 150 extra damage you can take. So you can, tank a shotgun shot, you can tank a grenade, you can tank a lot of different things. It's really going to help you out, especially in PvP, being able to activate that, run into a room, and, absorb some more shots than you're supposed to. However, 150 damage isn't a ton. Like, that isn't a ton at all. The regular Guardian health is around 200, so basically, tanking one sniper shot, heck, and it's non-precision shots, so I would up it to perhaps 200 damage and take away the non-precision damage clause from it, so you do absorb precision damage with that. Like if you shot with a sniper to the head, you're going to take away from that 200 extra damage you can take. And remember, you're losing your super, you're losing your hammers, you're losing your Fists of Havoc, you're losing your golden gun, whatever class you're using, you are completely losing that super and replacing it with this. This is not just a static ability that you get, so you are missing out on a huge, usually offensive capability of your class, and you're replacing it with this. So it can be a little bit powerful because, again, it is replacing entirely your super. But of course it will recharge 2 times as fast, so you will be able to utilize it a little bit more often. Either way, again, this idea seems quite useful. If you're utilizing, whatever class you're utilizing and you're not really super interested in the super, you're utilizing that class for its melee ability, for its grenades, whatever, then you can, slap this thing on, utilize this, and have a overall very good ability. It seems also very PvP focused. Go into, just before you're going to run into a room, just before you're going to capture an objective, if you see a grenade coming at you, if you see enemies going over a hill and about to engage you, you activate this and you can tank more damage and, get a huge advantage out of that gunfight. And of course you can utilize it more often than you would be able to with your super, which of course kind of lets you do that as well. Often people will pop their supers in PvP in order to tank a little bit of damage, to just, survive a certain encounter. This basically is just meant for that, lets you do that much more often. Moving on, the last featured exotic we're going over today is the Biosprite exotic hand cannon concept by Sean Hickey. This weapon has 2 unique perks. The first is an intrinsic perk, Millennial. This weapon operates on a percentage with 100% obviously is the starting total, and it drains 5% per bullet fired. Now you're actually not going to be able to reload this weapon, but rather it's going to regenerate that percentage back up to 100 when you're not using this weapon. So essentially it's like a heat sink from Mass Effect. Now it also has an exotic perk, Biosprite. Bullets fired from this weapon burst on contact coating targets. This coating slows enemies the more that it's applied. So when you're utilizing this weapon, of course you're going to utilize it like any other hand cannon, just try to kill enemies with the bullets. But if you're not as accurate, if you're missing an enemy, maybe you get 3 body shots, that enemy is going to be significantly slower when trying to escape with its low health, allowing you to hopefully get the last shot off and kill that enemy. Perhaps, you shoot an enemy that's kind of peeking around the corner, you only get 1 shot off, but you will have a little bit of a slowing effect. They won't be able to run away as quickly as you can. That seems actually pretty useful for a variety of different scenarios. You're going to be utilizing this weapon, pretty often, not just to do damage, but just to tag enemies and coat them. If you see enemies, across the map, you're going to shoot as many shots as you can, try to hit enemies, not even to kill them, but again, to coat them, and they're going to, come in second when going for an objective. Perhaps they're going to be slower when trying to revive a teammate or whatever, but that is a very useful ability. Now couple this with the, technically unlimited ammo whole 100% thing, which is, again, people think upon hearing that, oh, I never have to reload, it just regenerates when it's stowed. That that is a useful ability, but it does come with its drawbacks. And, first in your mind is that you underestimate how useful reloading and going back up to maximum right away can be. If you're utilizing this weapon, you're going ham, you're fighting, 2 enemies at once, you're going to be shooting a lot of rounds. And then not being able to instantly reload it, having to wait as the weapon goes slowly up in percentages, back up to 100, you're going to be at a huge disadvantage if you have to fight any more enemies. If those enemies that you're fighting push up on you, you're just going to run out of ammo and completely die. So it is kind of a good ability, but it also has a huge drawback. In total, I like this weapon. It's kind of designed like the Thorn, which is already, in Destiny. We're all very familiar with that gun, but instead of applying damage over time, it is applying this slowing effect, which I think is very unique and would be quite useful. Now that's going to wrap up this week's featured exotics. If you want to submit your exotic idea, what you need to do is simply reply to the official comment I'm going to leave in the comment section down below. So I'm going to leave a comment saying, reply to this comment with your ideas, reply to that comment, and that's the only place we're going to be looking for submissions. Now that comment will fill up pretty quickly and I'll be there to post thread number 2. Don't worry if you're in thread number 2, Benjamin does look at both threads for ideas. Furthermore, some tips for getting selected. Firstly, try to be realistic. Turning into a dragon when you get a kill, that's cool, but it's never going to actually happen in Destiny. Secondly, try to self-regulate your idea and make sure that it's not overpowered. Getting a kill and instantly getting an overshield is probably a bit much. And lastly, while I would still encourage you to be creative, don't be overly complicated. If you have a huge paragraph explaining each of your 3 exotic perks, that's probably way too much. Imagine moving your cursor over the exotic perk in-game and an essay appearing describing what the perk did. That's just a little bit much. And I haven't ever said this before, but another tip is don't be afraid to try new gun types. Don't be afraid to make SMG exotics, to make heavy sniper rifle, laser rifle, whatever. Don't think that you have to make, scout rifle, auto rifle, and the existing gun types for exotics. You can make something, like the Sleeper Simulant, which is very different than anything that we've currently had before that point. And moving on, the last thing we're going to do today is go over all of the different exotic creations that were made last week. The first one is the Nebula Rose, exotic sniper rifle concept by Joey Ducati. Moving on, we have the Parasite, exotic auto rifle concept by Adam Warren 1. After that, we have the Indoctrination, exotic scout rifle concept by Atticus 21. Next, we have the Divisive Dimension, exotic sidearm concept by Dr. Regulus. Next, we have the Victory, exotic shotgun concept by Dire Mune. After that, we have the Compound Interest, exotic sidearm concept by I'm a Raptor. We then have the Obsidian Scalpel, exotic scout rifle concept by Mark McGowan. Then we have the Surya's Blessing, exotic sniper rifle concept by It's Ember. After that, we have the Silence Breaker, exotic shotgun concept by Peyton Barrett. We then have the Point of Density, exotic sniper rifle concept by Nelson Griffith. After that, we have the Harbinger, exotic hand cannon concept by Fuzzdoffer Poo Poo. Then we have the Graviton Maul, exotic sniper rifle concept by Killin' Joke 4. And lastly, we have the Angel, exotic sniper rifle concept by Benjamin Radiman himself. And that's going to wrap up today's video. Again, if you like this series, remember to support it. Sharing it on Twitter or sending it to a friend goes a long way. If you want to see more Destiny content from me and don't want to miss out on next week's Exotic Concepts video, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and tell me thread number 1 is full, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That's linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.